morning, everybody, and thank you everyone for coming. I know you have a valuable time, and I very appreciate that you come to this seminar. And it's my privilege to present this concept in front of you. But before I begin to present my work, I like Dr. Thaviwat to deliver some opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sawalak. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for my delay in arriving this morning due to the unexpected traffic in Bangkok. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to open this discussion on an important topic, Buddhist sustainable development. It is the World Buddhist University's policy to support research on Buddhism with from various angles or perspectives, particularly for development. And the work of Dr. Sawalak on the topic of Buddhist sustainable development is a new perspective along with Buddhist economics, GNH, gross national happiness, that was initiated by the King of Bhutan many years ago. And this is the new trend. The world is facing a lot of crises due to conventional economic perspective that lead the world to dead end. And the world is facing crisis, not only economics, but also politics, social, cultural, environment, and even public health issues. So this new perspective added the Buddhist perspective provide a new way of looking at the same problem that we are facing. So I think Dr. Sawalak research on sustainable development from Buddhist perspective will provide a new way of looking to the whole same problematic crisis. So it's our policy, the World Buddhist University, to support any kind of research that will help humankind to solve any kind of social problems from a Buddhist perspective. So this is one of our work, our job as the World Buddhist University. So the time is short, so I declare the opening of this small session of the seminar. I would like to invite Dr. Sawalak to present her work.
Thank you. I'm going to present in front of you in the table. Promoting sustainable point. I like to give the background of my study. This is the overview of the paper. The structure is that it starts with the significance of the problem with some background, and then we introduce happiness in Buddhism, and related to different thoughts. So we compare with how it's different to Western concept and different implication to development, and how to develop inner happiness. And late part about Buddhist system for societal happiness and sustainable development, which include Dhamma at individual and social level, and also related to socio-economic system and relationship with nature. This part I introduced some concepts that related to Buddhist economics and some Buddhist principle in relation to nature. And the last part is I introduce new concept in Buddhist sustainable development. This is the structure, but I'm not going to present everything today. I'm gonna select some part from some outline to present today. Let I begin with some background of the global movement in sustainable development. It has been a long movement, like the global movements are more than 4 decades. If we start to count, like the first movement is when UN conference on the human environment in Stockholm, like the first one, like in 1972, and then followed by we have a World Commission on Environment and Development in 1983, and has the book Our Common Future published, which provide the definition of the sustainable development that I'm gonna present later. And we have second global conference again in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, and after 20 years we have a Rio 20 Plus conference just in 2012. So it's more than 40 years now. And the environment movement mostly I think kind of dominate the sustainable development stream, but not much talk about the human focus or human value. I think maybe related to UNESCO declared the World Decade for Cultural Development during this decade from 1988 to 1997, but not much be forward in terms of promote the human value. So most of the sustainable development driven by the environment perspective, which I see is something that external to the human being. Even they are related because under Buddhist teaching, everything are interconnected. Human being or being and nature, right? Everything are connected. But the movement on environment side mostly related to like how to preserve environment, like technique or tools or something, or policy of green goal and what, but not really go to human spirit, which is I think that is the root cause of everything. So my research is like to introduce the link between the human focus on human happiness, human inner happiness to sustainable development, which may be neglected, but just brought up for discussion in this project. So the problem of sustainable development for over 40 years that we have worked on this direction, and it seems to be, in terms of implementation, is not really effective. If we see that problems still increase over time, and if you can see a kind of climate change, you get hotter every year, something like that. But you may have different perspective that it may be effective, and it somehow, but it may not really as we target the success, right? Another thing is that we can see high inequality or over-consumption and production pattern because of the modern economics model that drive development, promote consumption-led growth, and then we have over-consumption and production, and the high inequality even increase that pattern. So environment and climate change situation is getting worse, especially led by materialism and growth-driven development. So, and human being has destroyed nature for convenience. So this, I think, threatens sustainable development path, like over 20% of the world population consume more than 70% of its material resource and own over 80% of its wealth. The higher inequality, the damage to resource and environment is likely to be because there increased materialism for the rich people and it's not really shared equitable to the people who need it. Resources are used for that type of consumption and production. And compare USA alone, that only about 5 to 6% of the world population consume about 30 to 40% of the world resource and energy, and account for approximately about 30% share of global warming. The number may be slightly changed, depend on what year, something like that, but it's approximately that if country has a high, very developed and high materialistic, high consumption production pattern, how a lot of resource has been used for that. And you can imagine if developing countries like India or China or Brazil, big country, going to be developed like US, how many resources they have to consume, how many resources they have to utilize, how many earth have to be provided to them, right? So now they are increasing developed, and as Mr. Chung mentioned early in the morning that the share of the US in global warming is declined because other countries take the share, they are increasing, right? So the trend of utilizing resources, I think is dangerous. So I bring this course just to alert from Thich Nhat Hanh that say that if we still continue to abusing the earth this way, there's no doubt that our civilization will be destroyed. And now we need collective enlightenment to stop this war of destruction. Okay, this is just something that we should thinking about. So that's why I think it's important that we should rethink what we have done. Do we need a new paradigm? If we look at the sustainable development framework so far is attached to what I think I can call like mainstream sustainable development, because it's not much different from mainstream economics, but at environment as one dimension. Like GDP, still promote GDP, but with green GDP, right? They put green, so put environment as one dimension to that convention concept, but really not a new paradigm shift. So the mainstream sustainable development has attached to 3 pillars of economics, social and environment, or even now UN SDSN add one more component is good governance, but still not really the human focus that I'm going to talk to. So these concepts are not focused on internal human factor, which is my spirit, and not have sustainable consumption and production pattern. And over 40 years of global movement is depend on how we're gonna look to is effective or not effective. I'm not the one who's gonna judge, but many people who are working in this area in this room can tell better. Is there gonna be any change in SDG which is gonna come to replace MDG next year after MDG 2015 is expired? Or it's just like another set of expansion MDG? It seems to me that there are more list of indicators, put more quality of indicator to MDG. It's like MDG plus S or something. but that gonna bring any change? Is still attached to the same framework or not? I don't know. Mr. Chu gonna be the expert on that. So this is the question. What we should do? What next for SD? When I look at the definition of conventional sustainable development concept that defined from the Our Common Future book, they said development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That sounds good, that we have to care about future generation to save the resource for them. But the problem is that, could that be possible? Given that if present generation have to compromise their needs for the future ones, while they still have the same style, they still have greed inside, they're still living in materialistic and consumption-led growth of this type of economic model. And with human greed and unhappiness, and less development in human spiritual well-being, do they gonna do that? The present generation, do they gonna sacrifice their willingness to save the resource for the future? They're gonna care the future generation given this type of lifestyle and the same type of development, right? So that's the question, that with definition, are they willing to sacrifice their need for the benefit of the future generation or not? I don't know. That's why I'm not sure it's gonna be successful if we not go back to the internal of human being. And that's why I have to link to the happiness topic, because if they are not happy to do, it's gonna be unsustainable. Any good thing, people must be happy to do good things. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. And the book by P.A. Poyutto also mentioned that the sustainable development, with that definition also, he also mentioned that people may feel like a kind of uncomfortable to do that. They are unhappy. As long as they are unhappy, it's difficult to be success, right? So when we link to happiness concept, that people must be happy to do, but what kind of concept gonna fit with sustainable development part? It's not happiness in general. A lot of happiness now studied mostly by Western scholar and theory and model. It's mixed with suffering and unsustainable nature. Like a lot of happiness related to sensual pleasures or at physical level, which is mix of suffering in Buddhist concept, right? Because if you not get that to meet the needs, you're gonna feel unhappy with it, or even you get it, but when you adapt to it, familiar to it, you like a new one. So your happiness never sustain. It's gonna be decline, and you must get a new one. When you want something new, and then you have to consume more and more to maintain your happiness, right? Or you have to compare with other people. They are richer. I like to be richer. Otherwise, I'm not happy. Without the concept of contentment or moderation, you never be happy. So happiness in general still mixed with suffering and unsustainable nature. So that's why happiness in Buddhism is important, and I think it can guide for the solution for sustainable happiness. Okay, now I link to happiness in Buddhism. In Buddhism, happiness in Bali called sukha, which is the opposite status of suffering or dukkha. Sukha or happiness in Buddhism is broader than pleasure that refer in Western theory. Most of the Western theory work on happiness now refer to the greatest happiness principle of Jeremy Bentham, but that type of happiness related to only pleasure. But in Buddhism, we have ladder of happiness. Briefly, make it as a 3 level for easy understanding. The sensual pleasure that we think as a happiness is the lowest level of happiness in Buddhism. And higher level is the happiness for mind. For mind inside, that's not less dependent to external factor like physical, material, something. but it depends on your mind. And the highest level is wisdom level, from understand natural truth, understand impermanence, suffering, and selflessness, and the interdependence of all things in the natural laws, no cause and effect, this type of thing. So this is a high level. And Buddhism encourage to move from from physical level of happiness to mind and wisdom-based happiness, to move higher. Mind and wisdom-based happiness is called inner happiness in this paper. When I talk about inner happiness, I mean, okay, you have mind and wisdom-based happiness, not depend on like a lot of materials or income or this type of thing. So happiness development in Buddhist concept is dynamic. It moves upward from low to higher level of happiness, which may be different from author happiness study that happiness seems to be static when they go to survey. But people development can change all the time. Like when 10 years ago I may have very low level of happiness, and now I may be a little bit higher or something like that. So people can change, and everyone are equal to attain the highest level of happiness if we determine to do. So happiness development process is dynamic in Buddhist perspective. So this is the process of reducing suffering and until no suffering at highest level, and also the process of human development. Like we are an ordinary person, we are happy with this level now, but we are also mixed with that. When we have a share of happiness from my level higher than low level, we are more developed, and then if we get a share of wisdom level happiness, we are more developed, right? So it encourages people to move higher for more quality of happiness. So the implication is that happiness development is also like the process of practicing Dhamma, because you have to understand about inner happiness until you reach the highest point, completely free from suffering, where happiness is sustained. Different level of happiness reflect different level of human development as mentioned, but it doesn't mean that Buddhism forces everyone to go up high. It's just like they accept human development as they are at each level, except that we are different, right? We are different, but we can develop. That's the point. Everyone can develop to obtain higher happiness along the right path. That means we need training, or we need practicing. It just not come up automatically. We need to put effort for that. So general happiness concept, which refer in most studies refer to low level of happiness, mostly relate to sensual pleasures and have unsustainable nature, as I mentioned, involved with a lot of suffering, and more static concept, not related to the process of human development over time. So Buddhists can guide for sustainable happiness, because Western theory, they are aware of unsustainable nature of happiness, like they have a lot of explanation from the theory of adaptation and aspiration and social comparison. But that's it. They have no solution. I mean, for my review, if you review, you see, you can tell me. But for my review, they have no solution on that when I study about a lot of happiness research or theory. But Buddhists suggest a clear direction how to get to sustainable happiness by ladder of happiness, right? So this is the difference, that Buddhists can give a guidance for a solution, but Western theories or research right now is only at explanation level, explain why your happiness is not sustained by this type of theory. So in my study, I classify happiness symbol into main three levels, following Buddhist concept, and also classify physical level to distinguish real needs from unlimited wants. This is important. Real needs is like basic need that if body needs it. It's necessary for quality of life or improve human well-being. So it's not just the basic needs for survival as in the old days ago. So in my definition, I can explain for basic needs for good quality of life, such as quality of food and sufficient nutrition, safety, shelter, and clean environment, with water and sanitation, as well as basic utilities, access to drug and medical care, and clothing for protection, plus other foundation for well-being. For example, basic access for education or knowledge and communication, access to opportunities and social inclusion. This is important for living in a modern world, but not over necessary or over luxury, over comfortable. Like you have to have 10 house, something like that, or something that expensive but not for the real usefulness. Buddhists encourage to consume for the real usefulness, this type of thing. But a lot of study mix with this type, and when they refer to happiness as physical level, there are many parts that unnecessary and can lead to overconsumption. This is the problem in our consumption-led growth. Okay, the second level is happiness at my level, that you can be happy inside without depending on external dependent and material. Like you can be happy from sharing. Instead of acquire a lot of material for yourself, you're happy to share it to others, because your happy at my level is higher, but not at physical level. Right? And for happy from compassion, from selflessness, from goodness, to service to the society and so on. This is not for yourself, but for somebody else. But that can bring you even higher happiness. Is that right? So this is the quality of mind development. Until the last level, the highest level at wisdom levels, as I mentioned, that from realized natural truth, liberation, and that level you can free from suffering. This is the main classification in the study. And as I mentioned, when we compare with happiness in general study and Buddhism, it can make a difference because of the encouragement for moving to a higher level of happiness, to the inner happiness at mind and wisdom base. That's going to lead to less individual and societal conflict, because people care less about their own benefit and they try to help other people. So happiness is like contagion, that it can spread within the society. Everybody can be benefit from your happiness, from your sharing, from your caring and so on. And it distinguishes physical level, which is necessary, which is real need, and unnecessary, which is over luxury, something like that. So it's distinguished. And Buddhists accept necessary or basic need or real needs. It accepts real physical needs and those used for enhanced quality of life and human development, and remove physical suffering such as poverty. Many people misunderstanding that Buddhist concept like you to be happy with poverty. I said no, because even I read some book, Buddha even said that we have to provide food for the hunter before he can give Dhamma. That's reflect that basic needs, physical suffering must be fulfilled first. They must have food, and then they can develop further for higher level of development. And encourage people to move to higher and highest level of happiness with less dependent on material. But they can have high level of happiness from inner happiness. This is the point. That doesn't mean that their happiness is declined. But like a proportion of happiness from inner happiness is higher. Right? So no need for over-utilizing resource and over-consumption to increase happiness. And this is the main contrast to Western economics theory with utility concept, which seem to imply that the higher consumption, the higher happiness. And that can have a problem with the sustainable development part. you consume more and you're more happy. But in this case, in Buddhist happiness, you can consume less, but you are also happy. And then it saves a lot of resource. You don't need to utilize a lot of resource for consumption and production, right? So this is the main contrast. And implication to sustainable development and Buddhist economics, or we can call middle way economics. I saw a book, Buddhist economics by P.A. Puyutto. He mentioned that this is as a middle way economics, and I think it's good to know about, it has a clear picture about like the middle way of life. So sometimes we refer to both like Buddhist and middle way economics. And it leads to balanced lifestyle and moderation. So the nature is more sustainable. Inner happiness is more sustainable than lower level or physical level. And it can lead to more equitable society of sharing resource. That's why this concept promotes income equality, promote poverty reduction. Because resource should be allocated to all the needy. And the one who do that also happy to do, doesn't mean forced to do. Right? So main different concept in happiness of the Western study, Buddhist concept is that mostly we found that author study mostly relate to sensual pleasure level. And Buddhist concept have happiness rank in different level from low to high. And that type of Western concept mixed with suffering. But in Buddhist concept, if you move from low to high, you have less suffering. You understand the nature of everything. And if you move by the right direction. And Western concept, as I mentioned, they have nature of unsustainable happiness, like explained by the theory of aspiration and adaptation and social comparison and so on. Happiness is more relative perspective, depend on other people, not independent by themselves. And happiness domain in the study is like many clusters, but it's from the same level. It's like they have equal weight for each group of domain component in the survey. But in Buddhism, we encourage to move to higher or inner happiness, less dependent of external factor and have more sustainable nature. So it seems to be emphasis on the higher level of happiness. So I think it gives more weight for inner happiness. This is my interpretation, correct or not? I'm not sure. So if I draw a picture, it's going to be like this. In general study, happiness study, they have many domains and they survey in the same level, a lot of cluster. But in Buddhist, we encourage people to move from low level to high level like this. And even physical level, we distinguish type A and type B. Type B is not really necessary in type B. And if we compare to the theory of human needs by Maslow that is popular among Western compare, somebody said it's similar to Buddhist concept, but I think it's not really similar. They have some similarity and some different. Some similarity, okay, they have recognized the importance of basic needs at this level, and then higher level people need more like love, belonging, need more esteem, and this can go up to a more moral level or more wisdom-based level, creativity, self-actualization. But I think this concept is also different in terms of higher level of needs. Also depend on external factor, like esteem. You need other people to respect you, right? Need family and friendship to love you. A lot of theory talking about friendship, families. But in Buddhist inner happiness, you're gonna be less dependent from external factor, including including people and other things, material and people. External, other people, I also refer to external. So in this case, it's related to external people, like other people need to be respect them, but Buddhists try to focus that we should rely more on ourselves. We can be happy independently. So this is slightly different. So this is not exactly the same as I mentioned that, okay, basic needs. Okay, so they have a lot in similarity, but only slightly different as mentioned, and so the Buddhists place another effort for human development, which is not considered into the economic and development concept, such as in the concept of happiness, not go to detail like level of happiness, and also human development. Like human development concept by UNDP mainly refer to three main aspects like education, health, income, right, in one level. But Buddhists refer to the process of human development, as I mentioned. So this is different. So there are also some similarity if we compare to ancient Western philosophy and our Eastern philosophy, that long ago they also consider happiness and wisdom and psychological well-being, this type of thing, and also distinguish natural needs and unnatural wants similarly in this point. But there are some other things that different. I should skip. Now I go to the system that I propose to my paper. It's the main part of the paper that I propose Buddhist system that can bring in a sustainable development. And this system is focused on right views. We should have right view towards life and nature, and understand true happiness and natural laws of interdependence with three characteristics of truth. First, human beings are part of interconnected natural system of cause and effects. Therefore, they need to harmonize for all well-being. Second, all beings are friends under the same natural laws, all want to be happy and get out of suffering similarity. And they need loving kindness and compassion, no separation. A lot of conflict and problem nowadays because we think about like separation, this group, their group, our group. What happened in our country today? If we think that they are friends under the same natural law and also suffering, we're going to be more kind to each other. And the third principle, which is the most important, is that happiness with liberalization from inside. This is inner happiness. This can bring in the best and perfect life. This is the right view from Buddhism, but I think three main things this capture the whole idea of Buddhist sustainable happiness that we propose. So in terms of socio-economic system, we follow middle way of Buddhist economics, like value selflessness, a caring author, promote cooperation, compassion, loving kindness for human and working relations, and work unlike Western modern economic theory that work is something suffer. But here in Buddhist, work is a pleasure and duty of life. We love to do something, right? And limit to real needs. Higher well-being can be obtained from low rate of consumption. This is important. We doesn't need to have high consumption and use a lot of resources like now. So the progress can be made by spiritual-led human development and lead to a more sustainable happiness. This is to promote good human, social, and environmental relations and situation and living in harmony and peace. So this is the right way of living in moderation and balanced lifestyle, feel contentment and less pressure and conflicts and harmony with others. So here we are not promote over consumption or production like economic system, but have to be mindful for real consumption and production, mindful for the real usefulness of it, and can have high degree of human satisfaction with low less of consumption and modest use of resource. This is the different implication from a conventional concept. And promote real need, real consumption, real work, low utilization, and more distribution of resource. All these things require wisdom to know what is the right amount. So the purpose of the new framework for Buddhist sustainable development, or I call BSD, require fundamental tools for right view with the understanding of inner happiness. This is the key. And The BSD concept suggests socio-economic system to realize the interconnected of all beings, nature, and the society. BSD encourages people to realize real value of products, material using or consuming for improving through real well-being or real need, and has high satisfaction or happiness with low rates of utilized resource. I think this can act on from conventional sustainable development or SD, that we try to campaign for low rate of utilizing resource but not linked to the happiness, that people can be satisfied by doing that. This is another focus. Okay, so this is mean we can maximize human well-being with minimized consumption and resource utilization. Okay, this is the key point of BSD. BSD is the human-centered sustainable development approach because it's driven by inner happiness of human development. It has high degree of human satisfaction with low rate of consumption and utilizing resource, because focus on real consumption for usefulness and consumption for improving quality of life. Many times we consume is not for consuming, for improving our quality of life. We can eat something unhealthy for our body, and even unhealthy environment in family, in work. It may be too much. And promote real work for usefulness and for human development as well. So human development with spiritual focus can lead to human well-being. So the change can start from inside, from the mind. I quote this quote from Pareto, that all such change must begin in the mind. This is the new direction for change. And they can achieve by enjoying inner peace, freedom, and happiness. As I mentioned, that if they are not happy, they cannot do that good thing, it's not sustained. So they must be achieved. Okay, 3 more slides. So the inner happiness is the starting point of all change in BSD. Start from inner happiness. It makes you limit to physical need, only the real needs, which is I call type B, real need, and then lead to moderate consumption, and lead to modest resource use for production, and do more real work to benefit the societal well-being. And that can save and improve natural resource, and have less conflict with nature and others. So we can have a more peaceful and happy society and sustainable development. So what I propose as a kind of definition for BSD, just like that definition from the Common Future, our Common Future book. So BSD should have the definition roughly like this. Buddhist sustainable development driven from human spiritual development, that humans are developed to be happy from appropriate needs or less attached to unnecessary desires or materials, leading to less resource utilization and compassion to others and nature, and living in harmony and peace. This about the idea of BSD. So, okay, I have to end my presentation now with the last slide. I said, let's promote BSD with important quote. Somehow I don't know. Important quote from Einstein, that we cannot solve our problem with the same thinking we used to create them. That means we create this kind of thinking from conventional idea. Even we put more in environment or some good governance dimension, but it's still from the same kind of thinking. So perhaps we have to change the new thinking and mindset. Thank you.